Probate relief is associated with stamp duty, land taxes. The deceased has left, and that has monetary value into it. That's called probate property. And the third condition is the land area of the probate property should not exceed 0.5 hectares.
Hello and welcome to UK Property Accountants. My name is Chirag, Associate here at UKPA and your host for today's episode on Probate Relief. To help us understand what Probate Relief is, we are joined by Nirab Gyawali, a tax manager here at UKPA in the Legal and Compliance team. Welcome to the show, Nirab.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So Nirab, before we move into the nitty-gritty of things, what exactly is probate relief? Or before we start that, could you please tell us what tax this probate relief is associated with?
Probate relief is associated with stamp duty, land taxes. So stamp duty, land taxes is a tax that the HMRC imposed, or the legislation imposed on the taxpayer, on the purchaser, basically, purchaser of the property when they buy the land. In the case of the probate relief, it's a situation where a company or a firm that is in a business of property trading, it buys probate property. Provided certain conditions are met, they do not have to pay the stamp duty, land taxes. And that's exactly what probate relief relates to.
Okay, and you mentioned about probate property.
Yeah.
Now, clearly, probate property is something that is related with probate relief. But what exactly is probate property, and what does the word probate mean?
A very good question, Chirag. Probate property, imagine someone passes away. He or she might have left certain assets, bank balance, or whatsoever in asset where a certain monetary value can be ascribed into it. So you consider this, whatever the deceased has left, and that has monetary value into it, that's called probate property.
And Nirab, when it comes to probate relief, who exactly can apply for it, or is there an eligibility criteria for applying for probate relief?
Yes, Chirag, there is eligibility criteria applicable on it. So let's begin from the seller side. So on the seller side, the first question is, who is eligible to be the seller? So in that case, there are mainly three situations. In first situation, if a deceased has left a will naming the administrator or executor, whomsoever is named as the administrator or executor are the eligible seller into it. The second is a situation where the deceased has not left any will at all. So in that case, what happens is the surviving spouse, which means our surviving spouse or civil partner has the first priority to it. And secondly, it's the children who are over the age of 18. So they have the right under the law to be the contractor or the administrator and accordingly be the seller of the property. And in third situation, where there is neither a will nor there are surviving heirs. So in that case, the court appoints the administrator, and the appointed administrator has the right to sell the property. And coming to the buyer side, the eligibility is limited for one particular type of business, and that's the trading business. So no one other than a firm or a company or a person who is in a trading business is eligible to claim for the stamp duty, land tax on account of purchase of probate property.
And Nirab, when it comes to the acquisition of a probate property, are there any conditions that need to be fulfilled in order to get or claim an SDLT relief?
Yes, Chirag, there are a few conditions applicable here. The first condition is the buyer must be a property trader, meaning the properties must be intended to be sold after the purchase. The second condition is the deceased should have lived in the probate property residence, and it should be his or her main or only residence for 2 years before to his or her death. And the third condition is the land area of the probate property should not exceed 0.5 hectares. But there might be a situation where the land area of the probate property exceeds 0.5 hectare. And the question becomes, would it push us toward the ineligibility? And the answer is no, because in that case, the property buyer gets relief up to 0.5 hectare, and above the value of the 0.5 hectare, the property purchaser need to pay the stamp duty, land taxes.
Okay, one more question, Nirab. These conditions that you mentioned, they are in the case of before acquisition of the probate property.
Yes.
Let's say a property or a probate property has been acquired already by a property trader. Are there any changes that a property trader could apply that could affect the eligibility of their SDLT relief?
Yes, Chirag, there are other few conditions as well. So in some cases, the property purchaser might want to do the refurbishment in the property purchase, the probate property purchase. So there is a monetary ceiling there. So for the refurbishment purpose, he or she cannot spend more than £10,000 or 5% of the value of the probate property. However, that 5% is again subject to the cap of £20,000. And the other condition is after the property is purchased, the property purchaser cannot rent out or lease out the property. And the other conditions, there are one additional condition, and that condition is the property purchaser should not use the property by himself, herself, or any principal in the property trading business, or any of the employee or any representative. So it must be for the selling purpose and not for the self-use.
So, Nirab, with all these conditions present for a probate relief, is there any specific thing that one needs to take note of, or things that you would advise as an advisor?
Yes, Chirag, as a stamp duty land tax advisor, what I would advise to everyone is, we have discussed so many conditions applicable here. And if you fail to meet only one of the conditions here, you might be rendered ineligible to claim the stamp duty land tax relief. So it needs a very careful examination and assessment. So one-liner, examine your situation, whether you are eligible or not to obtain stamp duty land tax relief.
That's perfect, Nirab. Thank you so much. With that being said, as you've just heard, perfect examination and assessment of your probate property is extremely crucial. For that, do not hesitate to contact UK Property Accountants. We offer a free 15-minute discovery call where our experts will ascertain your situation and let you know of the services that best suit your needs. Thank you and have a great day ahead.